What we have accomplished over the 4 months that I've been here is we've changed the team, we've completely pivoted the company in a new direction, and on the basis of that, we were able to raise 22.5 million. Apart from the raise, which we are extremely happy with and proud of, we are equally proud of the investors, the expert investors, healthcare investors that we were able to attract to join us on this journey and be supportive of us on this journey.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for another Virtual Investor CEO Connect segment. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and I will be the moderator. Today, we are featuring CNS Pharmaceuticals, and I am very pleased to be joined by Rami Levin. He is Chief Executive Officer of the company. Great to have you on, Rami.
Great to be here, Janine.
Well, we will get right in, but before we get started, I want to remind our audience that CNS Pharmaceuticals is publicly listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker CNSP. And during today's discussion, the company will be making forward-looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's latest SEC filings on their website at cnspharma.com for the latest information. So as I said, Rami, we're going to dive right in. So you recently announced a financing of $22.5 million. So first, congratulations on this achievement. I'd like it if you could explain for our viewers the strategic pivot you launched, what you have accomplished so far, and how this financing positions CNS Pharmaceuticals to execute on its strategy and ultimately drive shareholder value.
That's a great question, Janine. So, as you know, I started on January 1st here at CNS. And immediately when I started two parallel processes. The first one was to bring on board a strategic agency that I have used in the past several times. Their focus is biotech and pharma. And I brought them on board to support me with the strategic review of the company to figure out the best way forward to build and grow the company. I think at that stage it was clear to me that there was going to be some sort of pivot, but a pivot could take different shapes and forms. And I really needed their support to dive into the science, the capital markets, and really figure out what is the best way to pivot for the company. So we looked at, for example, could we look at our assets in other indications and pivot that way? That's a pivot. Or would this pivot be a broader one where we would just pivot completely with new assets to different indications? So that was one process that I kicked off immediately. The second process I kicked off in parallel was really assessing the team and understanding whether I have the right team to be able to do what I believe needed to be done at that stage. And I think very soon after joining and starting the strategic review, it became apparent to me that I do need a different set of experiences and skills to be able to support me in what I could already see was transpiring from a pivot perspective. So I kicked off that process as well with basically replacing my entire executive team. Those two parallel processes came together perfectly. Honestly, I could have not drawn it in a better way. The entire executive team started on March 2nd, and we announced our pivot about a week later. And ultimately, the pivot, as we announced, was we decided to out-license our legacy assets. There's a huge unmet medical need in glioblastoma. Patients are desperately in need of new treatments, and we do believe both berubicin and TPI 287 should be developed for glioblastoma, but it won't be us. And we are trying to find the right partner who will continue to develop and hopefully bring those two products to market. Where our focus will be moving forward is indeed a complete shift away from glioblastoma to either neurology or oncology, not neuro-oncology, but neurology or oncology. And the reason we're focusing on those two therapeutic areas is because they are among the top, largest and fastest growing therapeutic areas. And that is where a lot of our expertise as a company and as a team lie. We will be opportunistic, but proactively, that is indeed where our focus is. So, what we have accomplished over the 4 months that I've been here is we've changed the team, we've completely pivoted the company in a new direction, and on the basis of that, we were able to raise 22.5 million. Apart from the raise, which we are extremely happy with and proud of, we are equally proud of the investors, the expert investors, healthcare investors that we were able to attract to join us on this journey and be supportive of us on this journey. That is um, super important and super helpful as we start building the company in this new direction that we are going. The 22.5 million will be extremely important to us because we are predominantly focused right now on finding that next asset or assets. And the 22 million will be deployed to getting those assets on board and developing them or developing the asset to the next inflection point. So we are really focused on finding an asset, probably around IND ready to post phase one, where with the capital that we just raised, that would be sufficient not only to get the asset, but develop it to the next inflection point, which needs to be within 12 months after we get the asset. Once we get to that inflection point and the data is good and our shares increase as a result, that is when we will go out and attract additional investors to be able to fund to the next inflection point after that.
Rami, I know the story. I know your accomplishments, but when I hear you lay this all out, it's nothing short of impressive. And absolute congratulations to you and the team on what you've accomplished so far. It's incredible.
Thank you. I've worked with great teams in the past. This is a great team, and I think we're super focused on what needs to be done. We've all been part of pivots and transformations in the past. This whole team was assembled with a very clear intent to be able to do that again here at CNS.
Excellent. So, thinking of what's next, how quickly do you expect to identify and secure a new asset? And what milestone should investors or shareholders watch for as proof that this strategy is actually on track?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wish I was able to give you exact predictions, but I would say the following: our goal is definitely to find the asset before the end of the year, and ideally way before the end of the year. Um, as I mentioned, the intent as a next step would be to find that right. And it's not just finding an asset, it's finding the right asset. We won't get a second chance to pivot, right? This pivot needs to be a home run right from the get go. We need to find the right asset to be able to build the company on the basis of that asset. So finding the right one as opposed to just an asset will be critical. So, we're not going to compromise on our diligence process. We are getting inundated with opportunities that we are reviewing, which is fantastic. And I'm very confident that we will find that right asset um, as quickly as possible. As I said, the goal would be to find an asset, probably from a stage of development perspective, from an IND ready to a post phase one, with a very clear inflection point within 12 months. The reason being is that we want to be able to use the capital that we just raised not only to bring on board the asset, to acquire it, but also to develop it, to get it to that next inflection point, create value for the company and for the asset, to show investors that we not only up until now have met every milestone that we committed to, but we will meet that milestone as well, create value for the asset and the company, and on the basis of our achievements up until that point and the data of the asset, raise the next round to get it into the next phase, which will likely be a phase two.
Well, I think we're already seeing, Rami, that this pivot is, has is taking shape and has a lot of legs. I mean, we've seen, the investment, we've seen the strategy outline, we've seen, the valuation of the company increase. So, I think the train is ready to leave the station if it hasn't already. So, I have to ask this for our audience, right? What's next, and why should investors consider the company as an investment opportunity right now?
So our goal is very clear. Our goal is to build an extremely successful biotech company. The team that I have assembled have all done this in the past. We know how to do it, we've done it, and we are ready and eager to do it again. So that's the long term vision. The first step is the pivot phase, right? Which we announced and started on March 11 when we announced it. And the pivot phase will conclude once we have the asset and then ultimately raise transformational capital around it. That will conclude the pivot phase of the journey. From that point on, now it's building and growing the company on the basis of that asset. So, to your question, why to join now? It's a perfect opportunity. It will be a missed opportunity as an investor not to join right at the get go when we are pivoting, when our share price is relatively low and our market cap is relatively low. We were able to attract the top tier life science investors who believe in the story and see the opportunity. And this is still early days. It will only get more expensive and harder to join. So to come right now and be part of the journey, that's where the opportunity is. And not to join is a missed opportunity from an investor perspective. We have done it before. We have shown that we can do it up until now. And in a year from now, mark my words, we will be a completely different company.
Amazing. I don't think you could have answered that any more perfectly. Such an exciting time ahead, such an exciting time, for you, for the team, as you evolve the CNS Pharma and as you make this great progress that you're expecting. Rami, congratulations on what you've done so far. Definitely a time, if not to invest in CNS Pharma, to definitely put you on the watch list for sure. And with that, this does conclude the Virtual Investor CEO Connect segment featuring CNS Pharmaceuticals. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to Rami Levin for joining us today. And as a reminder, CNS Pharmaceuticals trades on NASDAQ under the ticker CNSP. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit cnspharma.com for more information on the company, to sign up to follow the company to receive their alerts, as well as follow their social channels to stay current on the latest information. You can also visit virtualinvestorco.com for a replay of today's event, as well as our latest segments and events calendar. Rami, thanks again, and wishing everyone a great rest of your day.